Hi, Hamish Conway here, and welcome to TACOS Tuesday. And this is episode 54. And with me again is Sebastian Hargraves. Welcome, Seb.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So, at the time of this episode going out, you'll probably be on stage at the Amazon Seller Summit, delivering your presentation for Amazon ads, and which is every campaign has a job and some Q4 planning. So there might be some of you that were at that event that you're tuning into this podcast. I hope you enjoyed Seb's presentation. If not, we'll get it recorded. That could end up being an episode of the podcast as well. So no pressure. Didn't need any extra.
I feel like you just thought of that right then and there on the fly.
Excellent. Brilliant. Look, anyway, here with TACOS Tuesday, our goal is to give you the best Amazon ads, tactics, and strategies. And today we're going to get quite specific on something that we do as an agency, managing multiple accounts in multiple countries. And this is one of the key levers that we pull for growth, but also efficiency. And it is how to use harvesting to maximize your Amazon ads ROI. So Seb's going to be diving into the details on that and helping you explain this concept that is actually super smart. So we have got some slides. If you're listening, that's okay. We're going to talk to it. It's just some useful points there for us. So Seb, tell us, look, what is harvesting?
So harvesting is the concept of moving. So I want you to imagine Amazon as a whole bunch of buckets, and your buckets are these campaigns. And inside these buckets are lots of items inside these buckets. Like it could be one bucket might have 5 items in it, one bucket might have 10 items in it, and so on and so forth. And so the idea of harvesting, and you might have a bucket that has 100 or 1,000 items in it. And the idea of harvesting is moving some of those items in one bucket into a different bucket. And there might be some good things in that bucket, and there might be some bad things in that bucket. And what we're doing with the idea of harvesting is, let's say there's 1,000 items in that bucket. Let's say that 10% of those are good. We want to take out the 10% of those items that are good and move them into a different bucket. And we also want to look at the bad ones as well. And so that's kind of the best way to kind of describe it.
Okay, cool. So in terms of this slide here that we've got up, can you just talk to this explanation here to help people understand it better?
Cool. So in front of us, we've got a slide basically just showing an auto campaign. This is a campaign type within Amazon. It's typically one that harvesting needs to be set up on because it's a research-based campaign. And in that auto campaign, it will have a target or a bucket with lots and lots of items inside it. And it might be set at a $2.50 bid, and that may be too high, too low for some of the things inside that bucket. So it might be too low for some and too high for others. And so the idea is harvesting from that auto campaign and moving that into campaigns. And on this screenshot, I've got campaign A, campaign B, and campaign C. And all of those campaigns are at different bid amounts based on whatever your objective and your target is. And so the idea is to move from the kind of the left to the right in this visual. The auto campaign triggers a search term, we get a sale on that search term. We then harvest that search term over into either campaign A, campaign B, campaign C, and we pay the right bid for that search term. So in the auto campaign, we were paying $2.50, but realistically, based on our objectives, we may only want to be paying $1.50. So to do that, we need to move it over to the campaign to pay that $1.50, which is the correct amount based on our goals.
Okay. Yeah, cool. So we kind of start high level, we go hunting, and then we find some opportunity that we can then refine and pay less for because it's a tighter match. Okay, so that's the first part here. So what should you harvest is the next question.
Yeah, so what should you harvest? So the search terms you should harvest, obviously it goes without saying, you should definitely be harvesting terms that are doing well for you. So search terms that are performing well, you want to be harvesting those out basically just to maximize them as much as possible. Because as much as I was talking about before, overpaying with a bid, you can also underpay with a bid as well. So you want to harvest those search terms. Maybe there's a lot more room for growth and you can afford to pay a lot higher bid on those terms to grow.
So just a bit of a definition here for people. So people would be pulling search term reports out of their Amazon ads console. And then when they look at that data, like what constitutes doing well? Like, how do people kind of know that for their situation?
Well, that's going to be tied back to what they set as their objectives. We happen to be talking about
Yeah.
that at the Seller Summit. So you do need to know where you're going, and setting up your objectives is a key part of that, because otherwise you're not going to know what good or what bad is. If you're not at the point where you can set those objectives, a real down and dirty way is to just have a look at your average for your account, and anything that goes over that amount.
Yep.
So if you've got an average ACOS of 40%, if anything over 40% means it's going to be bad because it's higher than your average, and then anything below 40% would be considered good.
Okay. Yeah. So that's one way of looking at it. But then, kind of following that, like, there is a reason why you might still choose to harvest high ACOS terms. So it could be over that 40%, might be 60%. So why would you consider still harvesting a high ACOS term?
So the main reason that you would harvest the high ACOS is because, one, you don't want it to be high ACOS, and I'm excluding ranking and things like that from this example, because those
Yes.
you wouldn't be picking up those kind of terms in this process. You should already know what your best search terms are. So ignoring those, the high ACOS ones, the reason that they're high ACOS, if you remember the formula for bidding, we've talked about it in a previous episode, but it's price and conversion rate are the two levers, and so. The reason that it's high ACOS is either your cost per click, which is related to your bid, is too high compared to your conversion rate. That's really it. So by harvesting the high ACOS keywords, we're bringing our cost per click in line with what our conversion rate is, meaning that we're getting it much more in line with what we're willing to pay. And you can't do that by leaving it where it is. And the reason you can't do that is there's a bid controlling, using the bucket example before, we're using a bid to control those 1,000 items inside that bucket when we don't have it harvested. And so because we're using that one bid, I can't adjust the bid depending on the different conversion rates of all of those items inside that bucket. I have to move it to a different campaign to separate it from the rest.
Yeah. And I like the term that you've got here in the slide, is that you just haven't found the right amount to pay. That's why it's too high. But you pull it out, then you can pay the right amount to get that ACOS down. So that's really what you want to be looking behind. Just one quick question here that just came to mind, because you'll be running an auto campaign and you harvest out these search terms. Do you then have to go negative match those into that existing auto campaign if you're still going to keep the auto campaign going?
We do, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Some people don't, but we do, because it's easier to control the bids that way.
Yeah. And I think this is the underlying thing that we always want to talk about, is getting more control over your Amazon advertising, because too often people are using auto campaigns with too many search terms in there, or too many products in there, and it just the results could look okay for a start, but then there's just no control to even think about having to scale. And so this particular episode here, we were talking about harvesting. This is one of the things that we do to continually find new opportunities to grow, but also just be really efficient in that process. What about relevancy here? Let's talk to relevancy. If you made a sale, you're looking at search term report and go, hey, that's awesome, I made a sale on that search term that has nothing to do with what I do. Should you harvest that or no?
No, you shouldn't. And this happens quite a bit, where you'll get a sale on stuff that's really, really irrelevant. But I've sold stuff where we're selling, I don't know, a desk fan, and we get a sale on search term like food snacks. So,
okay.
So you will end up with stuff where it's like, it's just totally not relevant, and it's very random. And you might look at the stats and you go, but the ACOS looks good and things like that. And it's like, but it's very fluky. It just happened to be that someone was stumbling across it and they were like looking at snacks, and then they're like, oh, that's right, I needed to get a fan, and they purchased it at the same time. Now, that's, that shouldn't happen. Like, your targeting should be a bit more cleaned up than that, but every now and then it does happen. And from that, if you did try and harvest those things, you wouldn't be able to replicate that fluky, the fluke sale basically that happened.
Yeah, that's good. All right. So then some more examples on why harvesting is important. You were maybe touching on some of that there. Can you give some examples?
Yep. So this is a really good screenshot to kind of give you an indication. So I'll walk through what the visual looks like. So we basically have an auto campaign. We've talked about that. It's a bucket with lots and lots of items inside it. it has a bid of $2.50 on that auto campaign because it's got one target, right? Or technically it can have four, but for the sake of ease, it's got one target inside it, a $2.50 bid. Below that auto campaign, it's triggering search terms, and the search terms it's triggering in this example I'm using is heater, panel heater, and oil heater. So all within the heater space, but they have varying conversion rates. So the heater has a conversion rate of 8%, and that's because it's more generic, right?
Yeah.
Heater, we don't know if they want an oil heater, a panel heater, all
fan
different
heater,
types of heater.
whatever. Yeah.
Fan heater,
Okay.
yeah, lots of different ones. So a lower conversion rate because they're higher in their purchasing decision. Panel heater, there's a lot more intent behind that term, and so the conversion rate's at 12%. And oil heater, same as panel heater, it has a higher conversion rate because of the intent behind it. Now, in this example, if you were to leave them all in the auto campaign and your average selling price was $50, so you would calculate your bid, $2.50, divided by your average selling price of $50 and times it by your conversion rate, you would end up with these ACOS at each of those. The heater would have an ACOS of 62.5%. Panel heater would have an ACOS of 41.7%. Oil heater would have an ACOS of 31.3%. And so you can see from oil heater to heater, it's almost double or double the ACOS. So the efficiency is twice as bad from oil heater to heater. And so this is an exact reason why you'd need to harvest out, because different search terms have different intent. There's more intent behind some terms that are longer because people are more specific with what they want, where other terms, the intent is lower, and so you need to factor that into your bids. You can't pay the same price for all of those unless you want to go broke.
Yeah. And these conversion rates are specific to the advertising, to how many clicks you got and paid for from the ads, and how many orders came from those clicks. So that's a really important metric that you want to be looking at. In addition, you'll have your overall unit session percentage if you're a seller, or a conversion rate as a vendor. Basically, by splitting them out, you can then start to give the appropriate bid target. Seb, here you've got a bid of $2.50 on this auto campaign, which for those people that are in the presentation, we showed Australia, the average is 97. So do you, though, with auto campaigns go in higher on the bid to just see what you can find in terms of new search terms, to then go harvest and lower the bid to be more in line with what you're looking to achieve?
The bid for your auto campaign would be directly tied to your goals on like growth.
Anyway. Okay.
And stuff like that. Like you'd have a higher bid on auto campaigns if you're more in the research phase. So if you're more in like I need to go find more search terms, you'd set your bid higher. If you're kind of like, I'm happy with where my account is at, I just want to get more like dollars in my bank account and more efficiency, you would set the bid lower because you don't want to do as much research. So research is really when you're in that growth mode.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So that's again a good reason of why you want to harvest them out, and the intent is certainly very important. So look, what to look out for. So give us the common mistakes that people make when they start harvesting.
Yep. So one of the biggest ones is harvesting low search volume keywords. And there's a bunch of reasons that one's a problem. First is it can clog up your campaigns with lots and lots and lots of search terms. So, you don't want to have too many targets in it, or too many search terms, or targets is the right term, in a campaign, because you'll end up just spreading your budget out too thinly. The other is around relevancy, which we kind of talked on already, which is if you harvest irrelevant search terms, you'll end up just having too many in there that are just not relevant, and your performance will get worse because you'll never get a sale on them again. The last one, I don't think it's actually in here, but the last one is actually a bit nefarious. So on the low search volume, what happens is you get a sale, the ACOS looks really good, and so you increase your bid. Because it's low volume, nothing happens. So then you increase your bid again. And then because it's low volume, nothing happens again. And then you increase your bid again. And so what happens is over time, you're continuously increasing your bid. And then when you do finally get a sale, you paid way overs for that sale.
Yeah.
Because you kept increasing it. And it wasn't that the bid was too low. It was just that there was no demand for the bid for that keyword, because it's a low volume search term. Now what we use with our software, we have contingencies built into this so that we can not overbid. We use profile caps and things like that to make sure that we don't keep raising the bids like that. But if you're not using something that factors this in, you will eventually overbid. And let's say you get a sale on something every 90 days. You're just going to keep increasing the bid. You could have paid $1. You could have paid 50 cents for it, but you ended up paying $2.50 for it because, as in the bid, you paid $2.50 for it, which could equate to a lot more in ad spend because you kept raising the bid when you didn't need to.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so, and this in particular in Australia where there are, because it is still quite immature, still that can be a problem there where there's just not the volume on some search terms. The US is probably less of a problem where there's big search volume, but there could still be pockets there as well. Okay, so hopefully that's made sense for people. So what's the action that people should do on the back of this, Seb?
Some of the things that they should do is obviously, work out their objectives, which we kind of talked about. Go ahead and set up your harvesting so that you are moving some of your search terms out of your auto campaigns, move them into exact match campaigns. And that's where your search term will align with, whatever it is your target is. So if I'm targeting panel heater, the exact match of that is panel heater. So the search term and the target match each other, very closely. And then start migrating, have a look at your search term report, find the search terms that are relevant, that have orders, even if they're high ACOS, grab those search terms and then move them into that exact match campaign. And then recalculate your bids based on that data that's in there. And then reset your bids, because you'll be able to then reset your bids on each one of those targets, those exact match targets, rather than on that auto campaign.
Yeah, that's great. And also in terms of what you're going to be talking about at the Seller Summit, in terms of how to calculate those bids based on what your objective is, whether it's growth, profit, or research, and to adjust to that ACOS minus your, GP contribution minus your profit target equals your ACOS that you're prepared to spend, or max ACOS you're prepared to spend. And so, and we have talked about that in other episodes as well. But no, that's good. Excellent, Seb. So thanks very much for that. And thank you for tuning in again, folks. Hopefully you found that interesting. And next week it may be Seb's presentation that we have for TACOS Tuesday. If not, it might actually be some feedback we've had or other questions we've got, because that's something that we would love to hear as well, is what do you want to learn about? What do you want to know? And do send us in your questions as well. So you can send those to Sebastian at gosellglobal.com, or if you look on the website, go to hello@gosellglobal.com. And while you're at it, if you are interested in making a move from what you're doing now into working in a high-performing agency and being an advertising director, then let us know. You'll need to have experience in working with Amazon ads and a bunch of other things here that we can send you the job description there. But it could be the right fit for someone in the New Zealand, Australia part of the world. So thank you for tuning in. We do appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next TACOS Tuesday. All the very best. Bye for now.